Fake HOA said he was lurking. He was FBI, tracking cybercriminals. Part 1. The Oak Ridge Hills community prided itself on two things: security and order. Neatly trimmed hedges lined each lawn, and every mailbox was painted the same beige. But beneath the HOA's obsession with uniformity was something more subtle, more dangerous. It showed its face the moment Special Agent Deshaun Pierce parked his black SUV near Lot 17. Dressed in plain clothes, dark jeans, a utility jacket, and a beanie, Pierce wasn't there to impress. He wasn't there to be seen. He was there to quietly monitor a cybercriminal who had been stealing identities through hidden network repeaters set up inside high-end homes. Oak Ridge Hills was ground zero. From the passenger seat of his SUV, he monitored data streams on a tablet. The signal was active. The suspect was online. But the biggest threat Pierce faced that day wasn't digital. It was Karen Lively. A platinum blonde woman in her late 50s, Karen was the self-appointed president of a neighborhood watch that had no legal standing. Her motto: if it looks suspicious, report it. If it looks unfamiliar, call it out. And Agent Pierce, sitting quietly in a car with tinted windows, fit both definitions in her eyes. Karen marched down the sidewalk with her phone already recording. She didn't ask questions. She made accusations. "Excuse me, what are you doing here?" she snapped, tapping on the glass of his window. Pierce barely looked up. "I'm working." Karen narrowed her eyes. "This is private property. This neighborhood has rules." Pierce calmly showed his ID, but only for a split second. "I'm federal. I can't discuss the details." Karen didn't even read the badge. She saw only a man she didn't know, dressed suspiciously, sitting still, lurking. So she made the call. "I'm reporting a suspicious black man loitering in a vehicle," she said to 911. "He refuses to leave and may be casing the neighborhood." The operator asked if he had threatened her. "No," she admitted, "but I don't feel safe." 15 minutes later, two marked police cars pulled up with lights flashing. Residents began peeking through their windows, recording on their phones. The officers approached cautiously until Pierce stepped out, calmly, hands visible. One of the officers immediately recognized him. "Agent Pierce?" Pierce nodded. "You're late. Suspect just went offline." Karen's mouth dropped open. The officer turned toward her and said, "This man is with the FBI." What happened next spread faster than a virus. A teenager across the street had caught the whole thing on video, from Karen's aggressive approach to her 911 call, and finally to the police realizing who they were dealing with. By sunset, the clip had millions of views on TikTok. By morning, your Agent Pierce and your fake HOA were trending across the country. News anchors called it a chilling example of racial profiling in suburbia. Civil rights attorneys called it deeply dangerous. And even federal officials released a statement confirming Pierce's assignment and condemning the interruption of an active investigation. Karen's name, once known only on her block, now appeared in headlines. She tried to defend herself on a local news interview. "I didn't know who he was," she said. "He looked suspicious. I was only trying to protect our neighborhood." But no one was buying it. The public wanted accountability. And Karen? She couldn't leave her home without reporters waiting outside. Part 2. In the days following the incident, Karen Lively's world shrank. She deleted her social media. Neighbors stopped waving. Her usual brunch group stopped replying to messages. Local reporters knocked on her door. One day, someone spray-painted racist HOA across her garage in bright red letters. Karen didn't understand at first. "I was just trying to protect the neighborhood," she repeated like a mantra. But what she thought was concern had become a national conversation about bias. Her face the symbol. Meanwhile, Agent Deshaun Pierce did not speak to the media. He declined interviews, refused praise, and went back to work. In private, he told a colleague, "I'm not the story, the mission is." Still, the FBI hosted a press conference days later to clarify the situation and commend Pierce's professionalism. They confirmed that his sting operation had helped locate a dangerous cybercriminal targeting seniors. Arrests were made, identities protected. A photo from that day, Pierce in a suit beside the FBI director, was framed and hung in the Bureau's D.C. office. But across town, in Oak Ridge Hills, Karen couldn't step outside without shame clinging to her like fog. The moment everything shifted came 2 weeks later. Karen was at the grocery store when she saw a small boy crying near the bakery aisle. He was lost, panicked, trembling. She instinctively knelt beside him. "Sweetheart, are you okay?" The boy nodded but said, "I can't find my dad." Karen stayed with him, soothing his nerves until the store called over the intercom. Moments later, the father came jogging down the aisle. It was Agent Pierce. They locked eyes. He froze for a second, then reached down and scooped up his son. Karen stood slowly. "I didn't know," Pierce replied quietly. "Of course you didn't." Karen swallowed. "I'm sorry for everything, for what I assumed, what I caused. I didn't see you. Not really." There was a long pause. Pierce looked down at his son. "This is Isaac. He wants to be an engineer, or a dinosaur, depending on the day." Karen smiled softly, eyes misty. "I hope he grows up in a world where people don't make the mistakes I did." Pierce nodded. "Then we start by admitting them." Karen didn't disappear. She showed up. At the next city council meeting, she stood in front of a packed room and read a written statement. "I allowed my fear to speak louder than truth. I allowed my assumptions to cloud someone else's safety. I thought I was protecting this neighborhood, but it turns out he was protecting us." She stepped down from her fake HOA role that same night. Later that month, she joined a community task force focused on bias and accountability in neighborhoods. She didn't lead it. She listened. And Trey? He agreed, after some hesitation, to lead a workshop for the task force. He opened the session with one sentence. "You don't earn trust by demanding it. You build it by showing up, again and again." Karen was in the front row taking notes. 6 months later, a new neighborhood initiative was launched, Digital Safety and Awareness in the Community, designed to help residents understand cyber threats and how to identify real suspicious activity. Agent Pierce led the first meeting. Karen sat beside him at the welcome table, handing out name tags. Before the event started, she leaned over and said, "Thank you for giving me the chance to learn." Pierce glanced at the crowd. "Thank you for deciding to." The room filled with neighbors of all backgrounds, curious and engaged. Screens flickered on, slides appeared, and for the first time the community looked forward, not backward. Outside, the old neighborhood watch signs had been taken down. In their place, a new plaque near the gate. "Security isn't suspicion, it's knowing who stands beside you." And this time, everyone did. Side story. Gladys Moreno had lived in Oakbridge Hills for over 30 years. She had watched generations grow, fences go up, and rules become gospel. She kept her roses pruned, her porch swept, and her words measured. When the wildfire nearly reached the edge of town 3 years ago, it was Deshaun Pierce, then a rookie field agent, who had helped evacuate her disabled husband, Thomas. She remembered that moment vividly, the strength in Pierce's arms, the steadiness in his voice. He hadn't said much, but what he said stayed with her. That was why, the day Karen accused him of lurking, Gladys had watched silently from behind the blinds. She had seen Pierce's SUV before. She had seen him exit and re-enter quietly over the past few weeks, occasionally speaking into a radio or tapping on a tablet. She didn't know what he was doing, but she trusted his presence. Still, she said nothing. Even when the officers showed up, even when Karen's voice echoed down the block, even when the boy across the street filmed it all, Gladys didn't move. She didn't speak, and afterward, she couldn't sleep. The morning after the clip went viral, Gladys opened her front door to find a sticky note pressed to her mailbox. "You knew. You didn't say a word." No name, no signature, but it sliced deeper than anything on the news. She spent the rest of the week watering the same patch of azaleas, hoping guilt might wash away like dust. It didn't. When Karen resigned and the neighborhood held a town forum, Gladys didn't go. But that night she left her porch light on for the first time in weeks. At 8:42 p.m., someone knocked on her door. She opened it to find Agent Pierce standing there, holding a folder of pamphlets for the new cybersecurity awareness program. "I'm delivering these to every house," he said simply. Gladys looked at him, really looked. He didn't flinch, didn't judge. "I owe you an apology," she said, voice trembling. "Not because I said the wrong thing, but because I said nothing at all." Pierce's expression didn't change, but he nodded. "That's still something worth saying." She invited him in for tea. They didn't talk about the past, at least not directly, but they talked about Thomas, about community, about resilience, and about her fear of judgment, of rocking the boat, of speaking too late. Before he left, Pierce turned back and said, "You left the light on. That matters." Weeks later, Gladys stood in front of a small crowd at the local library during a community event. She held the microphone with both hands, her posture upright despite the years on her spine. "I used to think silence kept me safe, that if I didn't cause waves, I was being respectful. But silence isn't neutral. It's heavy, and it can hurt." She looked over at Pierce, standing near the back, listening. "I saw someone do right, and I let someone else do wrong. But I'm here now, to say it. And I'll be here again, the next time." The room applauded, soft at first, then stronger. Later that night, as she walked home, neighbors stopped her to shake her hand. One even asked her to help co-lead the neighborhood's first bias awareness circle. She said yes. And when she got home, she turned on the porch light again, not out of habit, but out of hope. Not for who she had been, but for who she was finally becoming. The end.